coworkers that couldn't handle the sexual tension anymore and went for it. How'd it turn out? Story number 1. There was sexual tension, of course, but we were in love with each other, so sex wasn't the only driving factor. Neither of us are the type to ever have a hookup. So it was more so about biting the bullet to get into a relationship. In that way, I imagine it was more intense than just agreeing to hook up. We had known each other 10 years, and I was married to a very verbally and physically abusive ex-husband. There had been no love in the marriage for years, and he kept threatening divorce anyway, so I broke it off. Then my coworker professed his love for me, said he'd never act on it while I was married. I said I feel the same way and have for a long time. We've now been together and married for 7 years, known each other for 12 years, and we have an 18-month-old. Very happy to be together, zero regrets. Truly the love of my life. I'll always think back with fond memories about our very lengthy courtship at work. I liked him so much, but I didn't think he was into me, and I thought there was zero chance of being together. Story number 2. I had a partner when I met my coworker. Whenever me and the coworker sat together on lunch break, it was always harmless flirting between us. One day she just came out and said, "When you're single, me and you're going to fuck." At the time, I thought it was a joke. I'm a guy, we don't pick up on subtle hints. Fast forward a few years later, and lots of flirting still. I split with my ex on the Friday, went out for a few drinks with work colleagues on the Sunday, got drunk, went back to this coworker's house for an after party, and she basically said, "It's happening," and she can't wait anymore. She isn't the type to sleep with someone who is in a relationship, and waited until I was single, 48 hours single in fact. We've been together 21 years and have a 19-year-old son, and have been married 16 years. Every few months or so it comes up in conversation. Story number 3. We dated for 3 months. It was beautiful, and out of the blue, he suggested we break it off because of work and whatnot, so we did. He went on to date another co-worker immediately, which truly broke my heart, made it unbearable for me to watch, and I got better opportunities work-wise elsewhere and left. Turns out he screwed up that relationship too. After wasting her time for 5 years, it's been a long while, but I never give in to any sexual tension in my workplace, no matter what. There have been people who were kind, patient, and truly deserved that chance. But I've just made it a point to make sure, never again. Story number 4. Met a coworker who is almost the same age as me. Turns out she's a virgin and I was her first time. First time was awkward, but eventually the awkwardness went away, and we fell in love with each other and had a long relationship. But eventually I left that job and I felt we weren't going to be able to see each other as much, so I broke up with her. She told me about her new job, but I haven't seen her in a few years. She probably has a new BF by now, but I don't have any regrets. It was an awesome relationship. Story number 5. Poorly, we had a casual thing for months that turned into sort of a fizzled-out situation while she was still leading me on. Meanwhile, she was fucking her ex-BF. Moved back in with him and started dating him again while we were still boning periodically. They broke up not long after. We hooked up a couple more times. She started the lovey-dovey BS again, but then she had a new BF within a week or two. Then she got pregnant months later and had a mental breakdown and wanted me back. I wasn't feeling it this time for obvious reasons. She quit the job and we lost touch minus a couple periodic phone calls and emails for the last almost 10 years. She ended up marrying the last BF for the record. She called me about a month ago for the first time in 3 years, and after we got off the phone, she sent a few texts letting me know she still thinks about me often and that she shouldn't have let me get away and all this nonsense. I didn't respond. She still married BTW. Absolute trash of a person and probably a sociopath. Still thinking I might be able to fix her though. Kidding about that last part. Fuck her. Do not fish off the company dock nor dip your pen in company ink. Not to say it can't work, but be prepared for the downfall. Story number 6. Team hangouts turned to the two of us just hanging out. He confessed and got liquor courage and made the first move by kissing me. He asked me to come over and I said, no thanks. He was Hispanic and I'm Asian. He was adamant and kept reminding me how badly he wanted an Asian GF and for me to meet his mom and come over. I just remembered how it was weird to have hung out with him and his twin sister a few times, felt like she was interviewing me. We worked together for a few more months and then he left the company to work in a different state, told me he'll miss me and would like to hang out with me again. Gave me a gift on his last day. I relocated locations because of school and he would drive 4 to 6 hours to visit me on campus. I'm terrible at reading signs, dating, but even after all these events, I asked him directly if he liked me and he said no, and I just told him I felt like I was leading him on. Told him we shouldn't hang out anymore because I'm not looking for a relationship, and in my head, I was telling myself we just don't see us being together romantically, but we can just be friends like platonically. Eventually ghosted me, just stopped responding to me, until recently he started hitting me up around 1 a.m. I never responded, just nope. Looking back, I probably enjoyed the attention, but he was a major red flag and I'm so glad I listened to my gut. He was selfish, not emotionally mature, condescending, and a terrible listener. Story number 7. The first time, the most intense whirlwind romance that I look back on a decade later with fondness. Your first gay relationship really hits differently. We broke up because I moved back to my home country, which was always planned and we both always knew was coming, but the intensity of the love affair drew me back a few months later. Managed to walk back into my old job. Luckily, she was cold and distant and wouldn't look me in the eye. I was confused and hurt until one night it came out that she had reunited with her ex in the months I was away and just didn't have the guts to tell me. We screamed at each other across the restaurant, the only time I've ever yelled at anyone. Luckily, only one other coworker was present, and he had the biggest, softest soul. He approached me afterwards to comfort me. We worked together for another year or more, and she managed to never speak directly to me the entire time. It fucked with our work on countless occasions, but she just couldn't or wouldn't face me, even after we had both moved on. That was until my very last week, when she approached me. Said a couple of sentences about work stuff, then walked away. The group of coworkers I was with and I were all shook. Then I left for good. That was that. Same workplace, different person. He pursued me and I thought it would be a fun, whatever fling, since I was once again due to move back to my home country in a few weeks. He caught feelings and convinced me I had to. Long story short, we did long distance across continents for 3 months, then I moved back to the same job again, then we moved to a third country together. All the while we were both miserable. Sunk costs fallacy. We didn't know how to get out of it, and we were convinced we had something special because we so badly wanted it to be true. It wasn't true. We broke up and I finally got to move to my home country permanently. 6 months later, I met my now husband and we were, thankfully, not co-workers, we were neighbors.